This episode of Best Bets is brought to you by BUSR, the official sportsbook of Matt O'Leary and Y. Head on over to busr.com/Matt and receive a 150% free play bonus up to $2,500. First deposit only. Get in on the action at BUSR. Hello and welcome back to Best Bets. What is going on? I am Matt O'Leary, joined as always by Joe Manniello, Newsday's NFL pick columnist. Joe, how are you?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Fun wild card weekend, 3-3 for you, and I went 2-4. So we had similar picks. The one that we didn't agree on was the crazy game, the Chargers and the Jaguars. Jaguars come all the way back, so hopefully we have a game that's just as fun this weekend in the divisional round.
Yeah, it should be some good games.
Absolutely. So let's get it rolling with Saturday. The Jacksonville Jaguars and Kansas City Chiefs get us going. The Chiefs are big-time favorites by 8.5. What do you like here?
This is a rematch of the one of our few head-to-head picks during the season. The Chiefs were 9.5-point favorites back in Week 10, and you took the Chiefs. I took the Jaguars, and of course they won by 10 points. So they just covered the number. And it was an interesting game because they jumped out to a 20-0 lead, Kansas City, but Jacksonville missed 2 field goals, had a touchdown called back, and they lost by 10. So I think they showed that they could hang with them if, the defense, they're not going to stop Mahomes. So I like the points. I just feel like it's too many points. We talk about this all the time with the Chiefs not covering these numbers. And there were few games this year, the 2 games to the Broncos, the Texans game, they won by, they barely beat these bad teams. They had to bye. Andy Reid is like 27-4 off a bye. So I think the Chiefs are going to win, and no doubt about that. But I don't know. I like the Jaguars. I think they're a feisty team with Doug Peterson. He's the former OC in KC with Reid. He's also played under Reid as a quarterback with the Eagles, I believe. Yeah. But that's right? Yeah.
Yep.
But I just feel like you can't count these Jaguars out. You saw Lawrence last week. It was crazy. 4 first-half interceptions, 4 second-half touchdowns, down 27-0. They rallied to win. So I feel like even if they're down in this game by like a similar score, 27-17 or something like that, I can see them getting a late touchdown to cover the number. I just feel like it's too many points. And the Chiefs, they don't have a running game. Obviously, they have Mahomes. The Jaguars aren't great against tight ends, so Kelsey should have a big day. I just don't see the Chiefs winning this game by 20 points or even 14. So I feel like 8.5 is a big number. If they win by 10, so be it. But I like the Jaguars to be competitive and playing with house money. I feel like it's last week's game was so wild, and to get them here, I don't think I think I can see Peterson going for 4th and short like almost every. As long as it's past the 50-yard line, I can see him being really, really aggressive. And, we've also seen Andy Reid lose some of these kind of games, as a big favorite in the playoffs. So I don't think the Chiefs are going to steamroll them. So I think it'll be a close game. I have it 30-24 Kansas City.
Okay, there you go. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to take the Jags plus 8.5 as well. And as you mentioned, the last time we did this, I took the Chiefs with the big number. But that Jacksonville team and this Jacksonville team are completely different. It's kind of they got it in gear in the second half of the season. Lawrence took his game to another level, and what we saw in the wild card game was nuts. I've never seen anything like that. As bad of a performance as you could possibly get in that first half, and then as good as you could possibly see a quarterback play in the second half. Now, I don't know if they have the firepower to outright beat the Chiefs, but that 8.5-point number seems way too high. The Jags are a feisty team. They're extremely, extremely well coached with Doug Peterson. I love what he's doing there. Obviously, he had all that success in Philadelphia. They win the Super Bowl. He's gutsy. He goes for it on 4th down. Last week, he went for 2 and went for the win, and it worked. There's a lot that he does that I like, and you're so right with Andy Reid. He's a great coach. Won the Super Bowl with them a few years ago, but he's also made some questionable decisions and some questionable clock management decisions in some of these games. And again, I don't know if Jacksonville is going to win because of these decisions, but I think they'll hang around. I think it'll be tight. I'll say something like a 27-23, tight game, back and forth, but Chiefs end up getting it done in the end. and they move on to the AFC Championship game. But
and both teams are 7-1 since that first meeting, so they both played really well.
Yeah, exactly. So both of these teams are hot right now. Let's get to the New York local who's still alive. The Giants travel to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Eagles are favored by 7.5 points in this one. How do you feel about this game?
Yeah, I think this should be a really good game. I like the Giants a lot with the points. The Eagles were my pick to win the NFC before the season started. I think they'll still win the game, but it all comes down to Jalen Hurts. Is he 100%? Is he not? Even if he's 90%, I guess. But I just don't know if how healthy he is. If he's fully healthy, I think the Eagles should win. They're 14-1 in games that he plays, and he's just the dual threat ability to run the ball. But I like the Giants a lot with the points. I think this is not going to be a blowout. People talk about they've lost 9 in a row with Philly, but most of these players on the team weren't around for most of those games, or if any of those games. Brian Dable's first year. I don't think that really matters too much. He said it doesn't mean anything. So I just think the Giants. It's a weird matchup because in Week 14 the Eagles crushed the Giants 48-22, which we kind of expected. Giants were dealing with some injuries and the Eagles were hot. Then in Week 18 they didn't play their starters, the Giants, and the Eagles jumped out to a 16-0 lead and then held on for a 22-16 win. But Hurts wasn't 100%. But they have to buy. But this is weird because this is the third time they're playing. But I don't think the Eagles have seen this Giants team. This is a different Giants team. They're 100% fully healthy, confidence through the roof with the way they're playing. They just beat the Vikings on the road. Daniel Jones with a record history-making performance. And I don't know. I think these Giants have something going here. So it's amazing how Giants are. Like, they come out of nowhere. Whenever they go to the Super Bowl these last couple decades, it's just like you never expect it. So I'm not going to go that far, obviously, but I think that I think they're a live underdog here. I can totally see them winning this game. And all the pressure's on the Eagles, 1 seed. They've already beaten them twice, so for them to lose, the third time at home, divisional round, I think the Giants, again with the house money, with the Jaguars reference, I just feel like the way the Giants are playing right now, they're fully healthy. Adoree Jackson and Leonard Williams didn't play in that first game, and I think it's going to be a close game. I got a 27-23 Philly, so I love the 7.5 points, and I think it's going to be a back and forth tight game in the fourth quarter, so give me the points with the Giants.
Yeah, I'm going to take the points as well with the Giants here. I agree. I think it's going to be a really tight game. The last time these two teams played to end the season, as you mentioned, the Eagles just barely hung on against the Giants' backups, and I think that just kind of goes to show you how good of a coach Brian Daboll is. What he's gotten out of this team this year is unbelievable. Beating a 13-4 Minnesota team on the road. How good Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley looked this past week. I think the Giants have enough to, keep it close and to hang tight with this team. And, the bye week, obviously with the Eagles injuries, I think could help them out eventually for a long-term run. But I think they could be a little bit rusty here. You haven't had Hurts a ton over the last month or so. And I think they're going to be a little bit out of sync, and it'll be a tight game in the first half of the game. Maybe they pull away a little bit at the end, but I think we could see a backdoor cover here potentially from the Giants because I just don't see the Eagles ever having an opportunity to go up by 2 scores. 7.5 seems too high. I was telling you off air before we got started, if it went to 6.5, maybe it would have been a little bit of a different story for me, but something like 26-20, something around there. I think the Giants keep it close. They've been a great story all year. I think, Wink Martindale's done a great job with that defense, and future is definitely bright for the New York Giants. And, who knows? Maybe they do pull off an upset. We talk about it all the time on the show. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row in a season. Let's get to the game of the week on Sunday to start us off. On Sunday, the Bengals and the Bills. It's the matchup that we didn't get a few weeks ago due to the DeMar Hamlin injury. The Bills are favored by 5.5 points. What do you think about this one?
I thought it was down to 4 points. It's 5.5.
Yeah, right now it's 5.5.
Oh well. Yeah, I like the Bengals here. I've been on them the whole second half. They haven't lost since Week 8 Halloween night against the Browns. Last week was the first time they didn't cover. So they're hot. I mean, the only concern is that they might be down 3 offensive linemen in this game, which is not ideal for a divisional round. But last year, the Bengals, even Joe Burrow got sacked 9 times against the Titans in the divisional round. They still won the game. I don't know. There's something about Burrow. He just finds ways to win these games. And I mean, last week was not impressive for either team. They both could have lost last week to back up a third-string quarterback. The Bengals are really lucky to get that crazy fumble return. Ravens about to go and take a lead. in the fourth quarter, and the Dolphins almost beat the Bills. So I think the fact that both teams struggled last week as big favorites will definitely get their best now from this week. I think that was like a wake-up call. So I think it's going to be a great game. Like you said, there was a Week 17 Monday night game that got canceled. Bengals started that game with a touchdown right down the field against the Bills. The Bills' defense without Von Miller, it's a huge loss, and their secondary is beautiful. So I think that to me, this pick's all about Joe Burrow. I just have faith in him and Jamar Chase to get it done, and they were my pick to win the Super Bowl before the playoffs started, so I'm going to stick with them. The offensive line situation does give me some concern, obviously, but Josh Allen, to me, I feel like he's, everyone's calling him a turnover machine lately. He is. Last week he had 3, leads the NFL in turnovers, and even if it wasn't just the outright pick, because the Bengals were my pick, 5.5, I think it's just too many points. I think it's going to be a close game. I got a 33-30 Bengals. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game between, like a shootout between Burrow and Allen. But the Bills, the DeMar Hamlin situation, obviously, I feel like it could be too much pressure for them. Like, we have to win for DeMar, and the whole city is counting on us and all that stuff. So I think that could work in the opposite way. And, it'd be a great story, obviously. But the Bengals, they just find ways to win these games. I think last year's playoff run could help them, galvanize them, knowing that, if they can come back from, I think it was 24-3 against Kansas City and win at Arrowhead in the title game, they can do anything. So I think, also Burrow is 7th. ESPN has a stat, 7th best QBR under pressure this season. So he gets rid of the ball fast. And I think, as long as he doesn't take too many sacks, I think the Bengals will find the way here, but it's going to be a close game. So give me the Bengals plus 5.5.
All right, there you go. We're going to differ here. I'm going to take the Bills minus 5.5. The number's a little bit on the bigger side, but I think, something that you brought up that I think is going to play a big factor in this game is how beat up that Bengals offensive line is. I know they ran it all the way to the Super Bowl last year with a terrible offensive line, and they spent money to improve that line in the offseason, and it took them a little while, but they eventually got it in gear and, ended the season on a phenomenal hot streak. And as you mentioned, neither of these teams really looked all that great. It took a miraculous play down by the goal line for the Bengals to win. The Bills just barely hung on against Skylar Thompson last week and gave up a ton of points. But this is obviously going to be, I think, a back and forth kind of game. But I think we get a big turnover, a strip sack or something like that from this Buffalo defense. They're out some guys as well, but to me, that line being as banged up as it is right now is a little bit frightening for me. The Bengals have been phenomenal. The Bills obviously are a great story as well. I think this is going to be the best game of the weekend, but I think the Bills pull away in the end and they win something like 30-23. They win by a touchdown here.
Okay.
Last game of the weekend, 49ers and Cowboys. Cowboys coming away with a surprising dominant win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 49ers are favored by 3.5. What do you like here?
Yeah, I like the Niners. Cowboys are the popular pick this week. Everyone's picking them to seem to be the popular upset pick. It's just amazing to me. Like, Dak Prescott, they looked amazing. They looked great Monday night, don't get me wrong, but such an overreaction. I feel like people think they're just going to go into San Francisco and beat them. The Niners have won 11 in a row, 6-0 with Brock Purdy. That's all you hear about the last few weeks. When's Brock Purdy finally going to look like a rookie? When's it going to happen? I thought maybe my prediction was that he would lose next week at Philadelphia in the title game, but everyone's predicting it's going to happen this week. Dallas is the best defense they've faced. I get that, but to me, it's like it's all about Kyle Shanahan's offense. You don't need to be Joe Montana or Steve Young to thrive in this kind of offense. You get the ball to your playmakers, McCaffrey, Ayuk, Samuel, and Kittle. Just get the ball out, and I think he'll do enough. I think it'll be a close game, low scoring, 24-17. I think it could come down to which superior edge rusher has a bigger play, maybe Micah Parsons or Nick Bosa. But I like the Niners at home. They showed last week when they started slow against Seattle. They were down 17-16 at the half, but then they opened the second half with 25 straight points, and they just dominated the second half. And Purdy played really well. So everyone's waiting for him to, look bad. I just don't think it's going to happen this week. I trust Kyle Shanahan over Mike McCarthy. And interesting coaching matchup. You got Kyle Shanahan against Dan Quinn, their former he's the Cowboys defensive coordinator. He was the former Atlanta coach during that epic Super Bowl meltdown when Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. So there's always these amazing coaching angles with these games because you guys move around so much. But I like the Niners. I feel like they've been the best team for the last 2 months. And as great as Dallas looked last week, I feel like that had a little bit to do with Tampa Bay looking awful as well. So I don't want to make too much out of that game, but everyone's picking Dallas now. Also, I think it's going to be a close game. So if it's a 3.5-point spread, Brett Maher could come into play here after he missed 4 extra points. I don't really trust him to kick field goals. So, it could be what could have been a 3-point loss becomes like a 6-point loss or a 9-point loss. So you got to think about that. So I just think the Niners at home, they've been so good. And so, the defense, I guess it's beatable. The secondary is a little bit beatable, I guess. Last week Metcalf had a nice long touchdown catch, but I trust them at home. I feel like they're the most complete team in the NFL. I don't think Purdy's going to cost them. I think it's going to be a close game, and they'll find a way to win. So I have it 24-17 Niners.
All right, there you go. Yeah, I'm going to take the Niners with you as well. They're clicking so well offensively. They put up 41 against Seattle. Now, I know Seattle's defense stinks and the Cowboys' defense is much better, but even going back to close out the regular season, it was like every single week they were putting up over 30 points and doing it with Brock Purdy, who, was this no-name guy. No one ever heard of him. He's the last pick of the draft before, this past year, and he's come in and he's looked great. He's doing just enough. But I think a big key in this game is the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, they're known for their pass rush. Micah Parsons is just absolutely unbelievable. But at times, they could struggle against the run. They don't have the best run defense, and I think that's going to be key with Christian McCaffrey getting the ball. I thought he looked really good. They run the ball with Debo at times as well. They could really mix it up in the run game, and I think build off the play action from there. And like you said, Purdy's going to do just enough. He's not going to cost you the game. He's not going to make these unbelievable plays where you're saying, oh my God, he's an elite level quarterback, but I think he's going to be able to do enough. The Cowboys didn't expect him to be here, but going up against Tampa Bay, who is just an unmitigated disaster all year long. Todd Bowles versus Kyle Shanahan. I'm going to take Kyle Shanahan every single time. I think Mike McCarthy's going to be in for a tough one here. I think Dak has had turnover problems this year. Obviously, it didn't really affect him this past week in that blowout, but against his 49ers defense, who's the best in the league, I think that could come into play as well. So I'm going to take the Niners. I'll take them 27-20. The 49ers win and move on to the NFC Championship game. So let's run through these real quick. Only 4 games this week, but for the Jags and the Chiefs, both Joe and I are on the Jaguars plus 8.5. Giants, Eagles, both taking the Giants, getting 7.5 points. Bengals, Bills, we differ here. I'm going to take the Bills minus 5.5. Joe is going to be on the Bengals plus 5.5. And Niners, Cowboys to close us out. 49ers minus 3.5 for the both of us. Joe, thank you so much for joining me. Good luck this week, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, Matt. Thanks so much.